Number 1. 188 East Main Street in North Adams, Massachusetts. This is a massive Victorian multifamily home that was built in 1880. It has 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, and over 600 square feet of living space spread across what used to be 5 separate apartments. It was listed for around $175 to $199,000, which is an extremely low price for a building this size, even in a small town. North Adams is one of those places that has been struggling for a long time. Like a lot of old mill towns in Massachusetts, it lost a lot of its population and industry over the years. When that happens, big old houses like this one often get left behind. They become too expensive for regular people to maintain and too big for most families to take on. So they just sit there, year after year, slowly falling apart. From the outside, this house still shows some of its original grandeur. It has that classic Victorian look with a mansard roof, decorative trim, and a large front porch. But the condition is rough. The paint is peeling badly in many places, some of the woodwork is damaged or missing, and parts of the exterior look like they've been exposed to the elements for years without any real upkeep. There are boards on some of the windows, and the whole building has that tired, neglected appearance that big abandoned houses get when no one has lived in them properly for a long time. Inside, you can still see the bones of what this place once was. There's a grand, curved staircase in the entryway that leads up through the floors. The photos show high ceilings, hardwood floors in some areas, and period woodwork that's still intact in places. There are even marble fireplaces mentioned in the listing, which would have been a luxury feature back when the house was first built. The top floor unit apparently has access to a roof deck with views of downtown North Adams. On paper, this sounds like the kind of historic building that could be turned into something special again. But the reality is much harsher. The house is being sold as a fixer-upper, and from the photos, it's clear that it needs a massive amount of work. There's visible damage to the exterior walls and porch, and the interior shows signs of long-term neglect with peeling paint, debris on the floors, and sections that look like they haven't been touched in years. It's a 5-family building, which means there are multiple units that would all need updating if someone wanted to make it livable again. That kind of project takes serious money and a lot of time. What makes this property feel like it belongs on this list is the combination of its size, its history, and how completely it's been left behind. A building this big with this much original character doesn't usually sit at such a low price unless there's a reason. In towns like North Adams, these grand old homes often become symbols of better days that never came back. They sit empty while the town around them changes, and over time they start to take on that haunted, forgotten look that you see in the photos. The listing mentions a detached 2-car garage with its own full basement and off-street parking, which adds some practical value. But the main attraction here is clearly the house itself and whatever potential someone sees in restoring a piece of North Adams history. The curved staircase, the marble fireplaces, and the roof deck views are all nice details, but they're surrounded by years of damage and deferred maintenance. Houses like this one always raise the same question. Do you pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into bringing them back to life? Or do you accept that some buildings are too far gone and just let them stay as they are? In this case, the low price reflects both the opportunity and the enormous amount of work required. Number 2. 510 North 4th Street in Keokuk, Iowa. This is the Songstone Mansion, built all the way back in 1850. It has 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, and over 700 square feet of living space. It was listed for $273,000, which is a very low price for a house this large and this old, even in a small town. Keokuk sits on the Mississippi River, and like a lot of older river towns, it has seen better days. Big historic homes like this one often end up on the market for low prices because they're expensive to maintain, and there aren't always enough buyers who want to take on that kind of project. This house has clearly been standing for a very long time, and it still carries a lot of its original character. From the outside, it looks like a proper old mansion. It's made of brick and stone with tall windows, red shutters, and a grand front entrance with columns. The paint is peeling in several places and the overall appearance is weathered, but you can still see the scale and presence it must have had when it was first built. There's a small front yard with mature trees and some iron fencing that adds to the old-fashioned feeling of the property. Inside, the house has several features that stand out. There's a graceful, curved wooden staircase in the foyer, ornate chandeliers throughout, hardwood floors, and 5 fireplaces with decorative mantels. The listing mentions that some modern updates have been done quietly over the years, including a new roof on part of the house in 2019. The kitchen has bright yellow cabinets that give it a very retro look, and there are pellet stoves and a wood-burning stove that help heat the home along with the boiler system. This house has lived several lives. At different times, it has been used as a single-family home and also as a multi-unit property with up to 5 apartments. The basement has even been rented out as a separate ground-level unit in the past. That kind of flexibility is useful, but it also means different parts of the house have been updated at different times, which can create a patchwork effect. The current condition is a mix. Some areas look livable and even charming, especially the rooms with the original fireplaces and woodwork. Other parts clearly need work. The listing is honest about the fact that some renovation is needed and that only 3 of the 7 bathrooms are currently in use. The backyard is quite overgrown, with an old shed that's almost hidden by brush and vines. It gives the whole property a slightly wild, forgotten feeling in certain areas. What makes this house fit on a list like this is its age, its size, and the way it has been left waiting for its next chapter. A house built in 1850 that still has so many original details should be something special, but the low price and the visible wear show that it hasn't been easy to sell. These big old homes in small towns often become projects that only a certain kind of buyer is willing to take on, someone who doesn't mind the work and who appreciates the history enough to bring it back. The Songstone Mansion still has its curved staircase, its fireplaces, and its sense of presence from another era. Whether someone will step in and finish the work that's been started, or whether it will continue to sit and slowly age, remains to be seen. Either way, it stands as another example of a grand old house that time and changing circumstances have left behind. That wraps up our list of 5 houses that show what happens when big historic properties sit on the market for too long or sell for prices that reflect their condition more than their potential. Some of them have beautiful bones. Others are mostly just bones at this point. All of them make you wonder what stories are still living inside those walls. Number 3. Up next, we have a property on Dixon Street in Imboden, Arkansas. This is an older farmhouse sitting on over 7 acres of land. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and about 1,168 square feet of living space. It was listed around $130,000, which is a low price for the amount of land that comes with it. The house itself is a simple, single-story farmhouse with white siding and a red metal roof. There's a large brick chimney on one side that stands out against the rest of the structure. From the photos, the outside looks weathered and basic. The land around it is overgrown in places, with tall grass, brush, and trees. There's a small pond on the property, and the whole place is cross-fenced. It has that quiet, rural feeling you get when a house sits on a decent amount of acreage at the edge of a small town. Inside, the house has a very dated and neglected look. The kitchen has dark wood cabinets and older appliances. There's fake stone paneling on some of the walls that gives the rooms an odd, almost cave-like appearance. The furniture that's left behind, like an old blue recliner, makes the place feel like it was either recently vacated or barely maintained for a long time. It's described as livable, but in need of work, and the photos back that up. It's not falling apart completely, but it clearly hasn't been updated or taken care of in years. What makes this property stand out is the combination of the land and the condition of the house. 7 acres with a pond and fencing sounds like it could be a good spot for a hobby farm, animals, or even someone who wants privacy. But the house itself is small, basic, and in rough shape. In a very rural area like this, properties like this one can sit for a long time because there aren't always a lot of buyers who want to take on both the house repairs and the land maintenance at the same time. The location is quiet and close enough to town, but once you're on the property, it feels pretty isolated. The overgrown areas, the pond, and the simple structure of the house all add to that slightly eerie, forgotten feeling. It's the kind of place where you can imagine someone living alone for years until they eventually moved on or passed away, leaving everything behind. The listing suggests the land could also be used to build a new house or even developed into residential lots since city utilities are available. That gives it some potential beyond just fixing up the old farmhouse. But right now, it's being sold as is with the existing house and all the work that comes with it. These kinds of rural properties often end up on lists like this because they sit in a strange middle ground. They're not cheap enough to be a total teardown, but they're not nice enough to attract buyers who just want something move-in ready. The result is a house and land that feel like they've been waiting for someone who sees the potential in both the acreage and whatever can still be saved from the old structure. That was another one. The next house has its own story. Number 4. Up next, we have one of the most striking houses on the list. This is 403 West Kirkwood Avenue in Bloomington, Indiana, also known as the Batman House. It was built in 1895 and is an absolute giant at over 7,500 square feet. It was listed around $750,000 to $770,000. For a house this size and this detailed, that price reflects both its condition and its history. This is a true Victorian landmark. It combines 3 different styles: French Second Empire, Queen Anne, and Romanesque Revival, and it's built almost entirely out of Indiana limestone. The house has 2 prominent towers, detailed stonework, and a presence that stands out even on a busy street near the courthouse square. It was originally built by John Waldron Sr. as a wedding gift for his daughter and her husband, Ira C. Batman. Over the years, it has had several different lives. At one point, it served as Weir Funeral Home. Later, it was used as the Labor Temple. Then in 1976, Dennis and Nancy Garrett bought the property and turned it into both their home and an antique shop called The Garrett. The shop operated for decades until Nancy passed away in December 2023. After her death, the property was put up for sale, and it's currently being sold through an online auction. From the outside, the house still looks impressive, with its stone towers and grand entrance. But when you go inside, the photos show large, mostly empty rooms with high ceilings, dark woodwork, and original fireplaces. Some of the walls are painted bright pink, which gives the empty spaces an odd feeling. There are chandeliers, pocket doors, and detailed trim that hint at how grand this place once was. The attic is also usable and has exposed beams and brick, which adds to the raw, unfinished look in some areas of the house. What makes this property especially interesting for a list like this is its long history of different uses, particularly the time it spent as a funeral home. On top of that, it's built with limestone, which some people believe can hold on to energy over time. Whether you believe that or not, there's no denying that a house this old with this kind of past can feel heavy when it's sitting empty. The current condition is a mix. The structure itself has had some reinforcement work done on the foundation, and it's described as beautifully preserved in many ways. But it's also clear that it needs a new owner who is willing to put in the time and money to bring it fully back to life as either a private residence or something else. At over 7,000 square feet, this is not a house for someone looking for a simple project. Houses like the Batman House often sit in a strange spot on the market. They're too big and too historic for most regular buyers, but they're also not cheap enough to attract someone looking for a quick flip. The result is a grand old building with an incredible amount of character that's been waiting for its next chapter since the antique shop closed after Nancy Garrett's passing. Whether the next owner keeps it as a single-family home, turns it back into some kind of business, or does something completely different with it, this house carries more history than most properties you'll ever see. And right now, with the rooms mostly empty and the lights off, It definitely has that quiet, slightly unsettled feeling that big old houses get when they're between lives.